Let's see. Actually, there's a verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, CC Madhya Lila, chapter 24. CC 25, 278. Today's topic is Prabhupada's books. Okay, thank you. Ye Lilamrita Vina Kahayar Anapane, Taba Bhakti Tera Dubala Jivana, Yara Ekabina Pane, Utfalita Tanumane, Asagoya Karaye Nardana. Translation. Men become strong and stout by eating sufficient grains. But the devotee who simply eats ordinary grains but does not taste the transcendental pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna gradually becomes weak and falls down from the transcendental position. However, if one drinks but a drop of the nectar of Krishna's pastimes, his body and mind begin to bloom and he begins to laugh, sing, and dance. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. All the devotees connected with the Krishna conscious movement must read all the books that have been translated. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and others. Otherwise, after some time, they will simply eat, sleep, and fall down from their position. Thus, they will miss the opportunity to attain an eternal blissful life of transcendental pleasure. Umagyantimirandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksu Militamrena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Putale Shri Bhakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi. Gauravani Pracharine Mirase Sasunyavadi Pastyatya Desatarine. Panchakalpa Tarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Prabhacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vrindavana, turn to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5. I believe it's verse 16 or 17, but I think it's 16. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5. Say it's verse 16 or 17. The 16 is Jnaninam tutat agyanam tesham nasitam atmanam tesham aditya yajjanam prakashayanti tatparam. When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which knowledge is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. Those who have forgotten Krishna must certainly be bewildered, but those who are in Krishna consciousness are not at all bewildered. Gita says, Sarva Jnana Plavena Janagi Sarva Karmani and Nahi Ganena Sadashrami. The knowledge is always highly esteemed. And what is that knowledge? Perfect knowledge is chief when one surrenders unto Krishna. In the 19th verse of the 7th chapter, Bahunam Jnanam Anante Jnanam Prapadyante. One attains Krishna consciousness, then everything is revealed, as everything is revealed by the sun in the daytime. The living entity is bewildered in so many ways. When he unceremoniously thinks himself God, he actually falls into the last snare of ignorance. If the living entity is God, how can he be bewildered by ignorance? Does God be bewildered by ignorance? And so then ignorance, or Satan, is greater than God. Real knowledge can be obtained from the person who is in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, one is to seek out a bona fide spiritual master and under him learn what Krishna consciousness is. For Krishna consciousness will certainly drive away ignorance as the sun drives away darkness. Even though a person may be in full knowledge that he is not the body but is turned, still he may not be able to discriminate between the soul and the supersoul. However, he can know everything well if he cares to take shelter of the perfect bona fide Krishna conscious spiritual master. One can know God and one's relationship to God only when one actually meets a representative of God. That representative never claims to be God. He is given respect to, and he pays respect because he has knowledge of God. One has to learn distinction between God and the living entity, and the living Lord Sri Krishna therefore states that every living entity is individual and the Lord is also individual. In individuals past, present, and it will continue to be that even after liberation. At night, we see everything in darkness, but when the sun comes, we see everything in real identity. Identity with individuality is spiritual life, is real knowledge. So, Prabhupada has given us so many books, and he illustrates 4 books. He mentions Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, and Srimad Bhagavatam. So these 4 books are the foundations for all transcendental knowledge. So these books are meant to be read, understood, and applied. See, Krishna consciousness is the science of applying devotion along with knowledge in practical activity of service. If we have a service attitude, but we are not directed by proper knowledge, then that will also be a principle. And
Guru Maharaj, we can't hear you, Guru Maharaj, properly.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
It's better. Yeah, Guru Maharaj.
I think we jumped offline again.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yeah.
This is going to happen because I'm in New Mayapur, and it's just the way this internet is working. We're actually fortunate we got internet, what to speak about, having it consistent. But you have to indicate somehow when we go off. I don't know how you would do that. But anyway, I'll try to be aware of it also. So this transcendental knowledge is compared in this verse like light, like the light of the sun. The earth has no illumination of its own. The earth requires light from external, and therefore the living entities are in darkness, both in a physical sense and in a spiritual sense, because they think that the material world is their actual home, and that material activities can bring satisfaction and fulfillment and happiness. But because that's contrary to both the principles that are laid down by the Lord and life itself, the individual soul's existence, therefore we live in darkness. Therefore we have to bring in light. So in order to light up the earth, the sun appears at a certain time every day, and that's called daylight. And when daylight comes, you can see everything. Of course, we have now created artificial light, and we think because we have this artificial light, we don't need the sun. But this electricity is a power of the atmosphere, and it's coming from God also, and that is also under his control. So although we have this artificial light, it's not like the sunlight. It cannot give complete light, nor can it give the satisfaction that real light gives. So we may have some knowledge, but unless we have the knowledge of three things: what is our relationship with God? What is our activities in that relationship? And what is the goal of the activities that we perform in that relationship? These are the three subject matters that make up the entire process of devotional service. And in those three categories, there are many subcategories. And so Srila Prabhupada has painstakingly, and I use that word with emphasis, spent hours and hours of time studying the works of the previous spiritual masters, understanding what they are saying, reading the text of the revealed scriptures such as Srimad Bhagavatam, applying their understanding along with his realization of the present situation, which applies to the verses that he is working with. And that's the Bhaktivedanta purports. The Bhaktivedanta purports are the light in this age of Kali. We cannot simply read scriptures, as one was said by one transcendentalist. When you read the Bible and you read the Bible day and night, and will you read black and I read white? So two people can read scriptures and come with not only a different, but a completely opposite understanding of what is being said. Scripture is the word of God, and many times scripture is not understandable simply by reading it. It needs explanation, and it also needs practical interpretation on how it applies in the life of those who are trying to understand it. And that's the duty of the spiritual master, is to make that knowledge available to his followers. And Prabhupada has done that in his books. And therefore he said, everything you need to know about Krishna consciousness is in my books. Read my books. He said, you will also be able to associate with me by reading my books. He said, my books will be the law books for the next 10,000 years, which will be the foundation for understanding all the principles of devotional life. Prabhupada came, and his mission was to do these books. This was an integral and a very initial part of his whole mission, not just to speak, but to read and to write and to explain the knowledge in the form of literary expressions. But how can we do that? Even if we read, we may not get complete understanding. Therefore, we have to read with prayerful understanding, and we also have to ask questions. But if we don't read, we have no questions to ask. Or if we ask questions without reading, then it becomes obvious we don't know what to ask. You know, a lot of times we ask questions that are so obvious, the answers are so obvious, but because we don't read, we have to ask these questions. So Prabhupada said, read my books. He made it a point of instructions for each and every person. And he said, if you read my books, you will know everything. Because he said, I put everything. And he also said that all the subject matters that are available, in other words, everything, both material and spiritual subject matters, are in Prabhupada's books. He covered both from a certain perspective, but he covered everything where you can get an understanding. Like there's science, there's arithmetic, there is military, there is health, there's biology. Everything is there in Prabhupada's books, but within the context of spiritual topics. And if you read the third canto, it's very scientific. And he, as Prabhupada said, this knowledge in certain verses is the basis for greater scientific advancement. So that's just a small part of what Prabhupada gave us. But the most important part is we get to know Krishna. And when we know Krishna, then we develop a relationship based on that knowledge. And that relationship leads for us to get attracted to Krishna. You can't get attracted to Krishna unless you know something about Krishna. People can tell you about Krishna and you might be interested, but that attraction won't develop unless real knowledge of Krishna becomes situated within the heart and within the life of a devotee. So we have to read these books. It's a must. Well, we say we don't have any time, and that's the problem. That means something else is more important than our spiritual life. When we say we have no time, that means something else is more important than our spiritual life. That's what it actually means. And therefore, we remain in ignorance. And when people ask us questions, we can't answer the questions. Or if we're asked to speak about some topic, we can't. We feel unhappy about the idea that I don't know enough to speak. So, but that's, Prabhupada wanted each and every devotee to be expert in this knowledge and be able to explain it in any given circumstance at any given time. When you have this knowledge, you're free. Knowledge is freedom, knowledge is power. Power means that there's nothing in this existence that can defeat you. When you're fixed in Krishna, in this knowledge, you're fixed in your devotional service. Freedom means that you're no longer influenced, under the influence of the material, three modes of material nature. So both knowledge and freedom and proper direction in life is also found in this knowledge. So it's not enough to read the books. That's the start. We have to understand what we read and be able to apply that knowledge in a practical daily life. If we don't know this, then we have to take instructions from someone who does know, and that's the spiritual master. And therefore, there's a verse that's coming from the Svetasvatara Upanishads. Yasya Devi Para Bhaktir Yata Devi Tata Guru Tasyaipa Kartita Dhyatya Prakasanatma Mahatmanaha. Which says that one who has implicit faith, both in the spiritual master and in the Lord, and all of the knowledge of all the revealed scriptures are automatically given within the heart of that person. But that's how powerful this faith comes, and faith comes through transcendental knowledge. And when it's applied in devotional service, when we get the results of devotional service, which means detachment from material life, we feel free from the encumbersome that comes by living in the material world, such as all of the difficulties that come by way of body, mind, and relationships. And we are at the same time, we are clear in the direction we are going, then it's just a matter of time when you go back home, back to Godhead. So knowledge is power, knowledge is freedom, knowledge is a instrument for giving freedom and knowledge to others also. It becomes a tool to awaken people in Krishna consciousness. So it's important to read and study these books and to be able to explain them at any given time. And that's for everyone. There's no, well, I'm just a simple housewife or I'm just a student. No, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're practicing Krishna consciousness, you'll find that there will be so many easily solvable problems that could have been solved if you had the knowledge. But because you don't have the knowledge, the problem seems to be a problem. But it's not a problem. It's just the problem is ignorance. That's all. Ignorance of Krishna, ignorance of the knowledge in relationship to the application of devotional service, the ignorance of who we are. If we don't know who we are, we're not this body, we're spirit, soul, part and parcel of Krishna. We have an eternal loving with Krishna. We don't belong in this material world. Somehow we're here. And now we have to get out of this place, or at least while we live in this place, not be affected by the three modes of material nature, which are always dragging the soul in different directions to try to enjoy material happiness. So this knowledge will prevent you from illusion. And as this verse says here in the Bhagavad Gita, when the light of the sun comes, it's compared to knowledge. Ignorance is compared to darkness. So darkness cannot stand in the presence of light. Truth cannot stand in the presence of ignorance. Kali Yuga is an ocean of ignorance. On all levels, there is so much ignorance. And people live in the idea that I am this body, and if I just adjust my material situation in different ways, I can be happy. But you can't do that. It's not possible. As the verse says in the Bhagavatam, what is that verse? Go to Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, fifth chapter, verse number 18. 1:5:18. Tasyaiva hetu pratitena ko vidana labhyate yad brahmatav paryadam ta labhyate dukaravam anya sukham kalena sarvatra gambhira ramvasa. Persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should not endeavor only for that purposeful end which is not obtainable, even by wandering from the topmost planet down to the lowest planet. And then the second part of the verse, as far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time. Just in course of time, we obtain miseries, even though we don't desire them. So happiness and distress are already allotted for you. You can't change that. You can change how it comes, but you can't change the amount that you're destined to get, unless you get involved in devotional service. But then the first part of the verse says, one who's actually intelligent doesn't look for any position anywhere within the three worlds as some stability. they see that every position in this material world is precarious, flickering, and will eventually lead to suffering and death. So this is knowledge. So, and this is what Prabhupada's books are all about. It's giving us knowledge. Therefore, Prabhupada said, read my books. Read my books and distribute them, he also said too. But he said, if you're distributing them and you don't read them, then when you're asked a question, you may not be able to answer. And you find yourself in an embarrassing situation. So yeah, we have to somehow or other make time to read Prabhupada's books. Sometimes I find myself overwhelmed with so many responsible services. For instance, here we're at New Mayapur, and it's a retreat program, and there's a whole series of events from morning till night that go on. And then again, of course, I'm the only time I'm reading is when I have to present something as a lecture. So I prepare for my lecture by reading and getting some understanding. But for me, that's not enough. I have to actually sit down and read and understand Prabhupada's books without just doing it as a ways for preaching, but just for my own personal edification and understanding. So that's required for everyone like that. And Prabhupada read his own books too. He would sit there and read his own books. And sometimes people would question why, you know. And Prabhupada said, these are not my writings. I'm just putting it down on paper. It's Krishna's words. He's speaking these words. And sometimes Prabhupada would react in that way to indicate, not purposely, but automatically, he would indicate by laughing or saying something about what he wrote in an inquisitive way or in a novel way to show that, oh, yes, this is what Krishna is saying. So Prabhupada, when Prabhupada said, when he came to this world, he was commissioned by Krishna to write books. He knew his mission was to make this literary knowledge available, that when he's gone, we would have a wealth, a dearth of unlimited transcendental knowledge at our disposal, where we could rise above the three modes of material nature, and as Prabhupada says, then attain to that transcendental life, which is rarely available, but at the same time, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it becomes easily available. But reading and studying are also part of that program. And if you can't read for some reason, you should at least hear the lectures regularly and ask questions based on what you hear for further understanding and clarification. Okay, and so this is a little bit part of what our responsibilities to ourselves and to others is to understand this philosophy and how it applies. We go to universities, we spend money, time, energy studying books that really don't really give us any knowledge. It's just a series of information on different subject matters in the material world that's always changing anyway. But this transcendental knowledge doesn't change. It just gets more and more, it reveals itself more and more the more we study it. It becomes available through study and through application. Okay, so I'll stop there and see if there's anything the devotees would like to say.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj, for highlighting the importance of and criticality of reading these books, reading Prabhupada books. And as you rightly mentioned that we need to study them as law books and study them, apply that knowledge in our life. And if there are any questions, any doubt, we need to clarify with help of our spiritual master. So very much really need for everyone, including myself. So thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. If you have any questions, any realizations, or any comments, please unmute yourself, and also you can type in chat window. But before that, I will request everyone to please switch on your video. That will give a view that we all are physically present with Guru Maharaj. So humbly request everyone, if you can please switch on your video. And you can also ask questions now. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So Guru Maharaj, while devotees switch on their video and maybe ask questions, I have one question. As you rightly emphasized, Guru Maharaj, that we are too much busy in this enjoying the material opulences. And it reminds me one thing when I meditate on one thing, that when Krishna and Duryodhan and Arjuna pastime happened, when Krishna asked, and Duryodhan took this Krishna Narayani Sena. And I feel like whenever we discuss and study and hear this pastime, we feel like how Duryodhan was foolish that he actually chose Narayani Sena and he did not choose Krishna. But actually, I feel that, at least myself, like more foolish than Duryodhan, because knowing everything, we are still like trying to choose everything else, but not Krishna. So how to really, Guru Maharaj, focus on this and really learn something from this?
Well, if you can't get it by knowledge, you'll get it by experience. In other words, it's coming by way of knowledge through Guru. It's coming by way of knowledge through Shastra. It's coming by way of knowledge through Krishna. But if you can't get it that way, then the only other way you'll get it is that through experience. When your material life falls apart, then you'll start waking up. But that's the whole school of hard knocks. We don't want to go that way. There's two ways to learn: by experience and by hearing. It says that experience is the best teacher, but a fool learns by no other means. That is the complete statement. So why go through the hard knocks of material life that we have to wake up to the fact that, you know, there is another life that is available, and it's our eternal life. It's our birthright, really. So it's being given to us by the mercy of Krishna through his representative. It's not that everyone has this opportunity. Those who actually take it have the opportunity. But those who don't take it, although it's available, they are considered to be unfortunate, because it's like having money and you can't spend it. So if we waste our time trying to enjoy material energy and at the same time think we can be happy, then we'll learn the hard way. That's But that's not the way to go. Krishna doesn't want us to go that way. Therefore, he spends so much time giving us the knowledge through books, through his spiritual teachers, and through himself also. He teaches directly in many cases.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
The more we try to enjoy material energy, the more we get kicked by that same energy. Because the energy works in that way, that it has a dualistic quality. Any happiness you try to get from it, you get the same amount of misery. And sometimes the misery even exceeds the happiness in great proportions. This is all set up by Krishna, so we don't try to stay in this material world. He does this as the last resort, but he hopes that we will understand through intelligence, through hearing.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. I think definitely it helps. And I remember in one of your very old lecture, you mentioned that when we are doing any activity, we need to remind ourselves whether we are enjoying ourselves or we are giving pleasure to Krishna. And that's our choice. Like at least do that meditation. So that helps also, Guru Maharaj. Thank you.
Oh, you should try to please Krishna. That's the idea. If you're trying, that in itself is sufficient to get satisfaction. If you're trying to please Krishna, because trying to please Krishna is just as good as pleasing Krishna, almost. It's elevating. So pleasing Krishna means following the instructions of the spiritual master and understanding how that applies in each and every situation. So there's general instructions and there's specific instructions. The general instructions sometimes need clarification, but therefore we ask questions about the general instructions. The specific instructions are easy, they're clear. Spiritual master will guide person along, and if they follow, then ultimately they will get benefit. Everyone gets general instruction. So that's why we have these books. The books are not just nice looking pieces of paper with nice covers, so it decorates the wall, and we put it in a bookshelf.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much.
When I start falling off in my own reading, I can experience how I'm getting a little bit weaker in my execution of Krishna consciousness when I start falling off. Then I start to look, where is that weakness? And many times I see, oh, I'm not reading regularly. Or maybe something else. But generally, if we're taking in spiritual knowledge, or we're connected with the spiritual energy through chanting and serving, then we're feeling the happiness.
Sorry, Guru Maharaj, we lost your voice.
Okay. Well, it seems
we can
like
hear
we're
you
still
now.
connected.
Yes, we can hear
We're
you
still
now.
connected. Okay.
So thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Although I have one related question, but I will park it for now. I will give opportunity for others devotee. So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, if you have any questions, comments, relation, it's a great opportunity. Please raise your hand or you can type in chat window.
It doesn't necessarily have to be on today's topic.
Yeah, Prema Kishori Mataji, please go ahead.
Guru Maharaj, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Vinavanath Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Prabhupada, all goes to religious feet. Sorry, Guru Maharaj, I'm again sitting in the hospital. I'm sorry, I always this time can't turn on the camera for that. Guru Maharaj, thank you for the nice class and the reminder and also the very key points of the propelling force of going forward for Krishna consciousness is our Prabhupada's books. I have a question. Rather a doubt that you had stated in one of the classes that Krishna's energy, material and spiritual, both are endowed with the potency to expand. If somebody is working with the spiritual energy, then they see that there's a lot to be done there. And if somebody is working with the material energy, then they see that there's a lot to be done over there. So my doubt is like, okay, and then that was the answer to your question, to the question posed to you. I remember that how do we strike a balance between material and spiritual energies? And you said we can't. So the thing is that when we are working with the spiritual energy and it becomes like we feel light, like it becomes enjoyable. But at the same time, then there is a guilt that, oh my God, there is this, oh my God, am I lagging behind in something out there? So how do I take care of that guilt then? Or more energy than there's a guilt. Oh my God, I didn't do this. So if I make sense.
Well, if you forget to do something material, then, or something that is part of your responsibility, then you just do it. And you, all right, you forgot, so now you do it. That's all. What can you do? Sometimes it happens. There's no loss if you forget something material, but if there is a loss of valuable time, because we don't have enough time to become Krishna conscious, so we have to use every moment in order to do that. Time is short, and the process, is a gradual process. So don't worry if you somehow or other neglect something material. If you happen to notice it, then just tend to it and get it done.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, try to apply that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's, shouldn't feel like, if you forget to do something that's your day-to-day routine, like sometimes the Goswamis would forget to eat because they were so busy in Krishna consciousness. They would forget to sleep because of the same reason.
I'm talking more in sense of, if I may elaborate, that let's say that I am busy with the temple project or preaching or writing a quiz for this chapter or what, but in the meantime there is this conference and I don't go, and then I miss out on the updates, and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't go, I missed out on the updates because I was doing this, like something like that.
So then get updated.
Yes, Ganesh, thank you.
People come to me, like today, I gave a class this morning. One devotee came in after class. Oh, I missed your whole class. I'm sorry I didn't come. I said, all right, well, it's recorded. Just listen to it. What else can you say? It's practical.
So Guru Maharaj, we don't have any hands raised so far, but I have one connected question, Guru Maharaj, if I may.
Mhm.
So Guru Maharaj, like you have emphasized many times on reading books, and today, of course, like on reading Prabhupada books. One thing which I wanted to clarify at my personal level, that at least towards the end of the day before going to bed, I try to, means I have reserved some time for reading Shrimad Bhagavatam. Is that the right book? Because somebody told that no, you should not read Shrimad Bhagavatam, you should read maybe some other books. So I thought I will just clarify with you, is that I know it's not, might be the perfect time, but at least that helps me that whatever goes on, I have some time definitely for sure to read.
Well, there's no set rule about what you have to read at what time. That's up to you. No one's ever said that. Prabhupada never said that. Well, what he mentioned is that, in the villages in India, before they go to sleep at night, they usually hear Krishna's pastimes from Mahabharata or from Ramayana or from Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's nice to finish the day with something, some leelas, some pastimes. That's nice, as opposed to just, philosophy. I mean, you'll find the philosophy and the leelas are mixed together throughout the scriptures, and you get both. But sometimes you get just the philosophy without the leelas. It's better to go for the leelas in the evening time. It's nice when the mind is more slowing down, getting ready to break. That's just a suggestion, but if you want to read, now if you want to go to sleep and you can't sleep, and a hard time sleep, read something that is very difficult to understand, and that'll put you to sleep.
No, I normally try to read Guru Maharaj Canto 10, like that's what I go in the repetition. So that's also like most of the Krishna pastimes.
Yeah, good. You're okay. You never hear Prabhupada either say it or write it. You have to read this book at this time. Never said that.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
So I see no question, Guru Maharaj, or no hands raised.
Raj Prabhu has raised hand.
Oh, sorry, Raj Prabhu, did you raise? Oh, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhu. Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, sometimes I hear a lot of philosophy from speakers that are very, very expert, and whilst I am very interested in what they have to say, and I try to listen carefully, it doesn't always, I find that it often doesn't satisfy the heart. Yet other times I hear speakers very enthusiastically speaking about, say, Krishna Lila, and I find it enthusiastic I find the energy and the enthusiasm, and it feels more real. Like this morning, I was in the manor listening to the morning class, and the very graphic detail about Krishna's pastimes, and it was so joyous to hear. And is there something about why I can't get satisfaction from philosophy?
Well, the whole process of the soul's awakening attraction to Krishna. Philosophy is a direction towards that goal. The actual expression of the soul's happiness. Forms. So knowledge on different levels. The knowledge directly of Krishna is the highest form of transcendental knowledge. And that's the most, that's where the soul finds complete satisfaction. Which is in a direction, but not do others to each other. But the highest thing is Krishna. That's why, the 10th canto is the culmination of the Bhagavatam's, teaching. And they are all Krishna's pastimes. We're bhakti yogis.
Sorry, Guru Maharaj, we lost your voice again. Raj Prabhu, could you hear, or it's just at my end?
I could make out some of it, but not all of it.
Yeah.
No, I just stopped talking. Okay, did that answer your question?
I'm not
Can
sure,
you
Maharaj.
hear
I
me?
need to think about it.
And so what are we trying to do? We're trying to get attracted to so what's so hard to understand? If you want to get attracted to somebody, you have to hear about them on the road. And I tell you, well, this corner, and then you go down a little farther and take another left. Does that tell you about the person in the house? No, it doesn't at all. You had to get to that house. So philosophical knowledge is giving you the direct on how to proceed, but ultimately, the knowledge you want is Krishna.
Yeah, I think so, Maharaj. I think I get what you're saying.
If you want something else, then you're in the wrong movement.
I don't want anything else, Maharaj.
And then the scriptures describe his names. It's about Krishna. Krishna consciousness. It's not philosophical consciousness. Consciousness.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, if you have any questions, like it's the last opportunity. If you can please ask, you can raise your hand or you can type in chat window. So Guru Maharaj, as of now, we don't have any hands raised, but we'll wait for the last question. Looks like no question, Guru Maharaj. If it's okay with you, then we can close.
Yeah, we'll close it, and then tomorrow I'm going to probably be, let me see, I have to leave here, and so we have a departure, and let me see what time that departure is. Do you know?
I think it's around, yeah, I don't know, 1 something.
I think the departure is somewhat, let's see. The departure is at 1 o'clock UK time. 1 o'clock UK time. Yeah, that's the departure time. So I'm going to try to make the class tomorrow, but I have to be ready to go when the devotees are ready to go. We're all going together.
Sure, Guru Maharaj.
I'll try to make it tomorrow, but it's right just before the time I have to leave. So
Maybe we can have a short class, Guru Maharaj, tomorrow by 12:45 UK time. So 12 to 12:45. So you have some time.
12 to 12:30. I'll speak for 15, 20 minutes and then see what happens.
Sure, Guru Maharaj.
I just have to be ready to go because we're all leaving by coach.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Okay, so thank you very much, and all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you all the devotees for joining this today class. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai. See you everyone tomorrow.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.